Alright, let's see what we got here. I came across this at the ham radio swap meet and I thought, well, this is an interesting looking transistor radio or maybe personal tube set. And then I started to look at it and it's a phonograph. And I was like, wow, this is something I need, like some type of melanoma. So anyway, I ended up buying it. I asked the guy if it works. He said, no, the platter doesn't turn, but the battery compartment's in good shape. It's all there, and it's got a good stylus on it. So I thought this was pretty unique. Sounds like the airplane agrees with me. Too bad it's not stereo, but here's the speaker. Well lubricated. Looks nice. 9 volts, 6 D-cell batteries. We'll try not to ruin the stylus. Tone arm doesn't feel that heavy. And this is in that transistorized era before we went to solid state. Let's see if we can get this. How does this come off? Just like that. Ooh, look at that. $33, $45, and $78. It's almost like a toy that's very serious. So you can see right now that the belts, it's a DC drive motor like a Crosley, but the belts have got marks in them. You know what? We need to get some batteries in this. See if the cartridge is active, see if the motor runs, and if it does, I'll just go down and buy some belts for it, and we'll have ourselves a working turntable. Mercury by Philips. Wasn't there a Mercury Records? I think there was. So speaking of that, isn't this the Mercury Records logo right there? Isn't that what that is? When I asked the seller about it, he said, I have no idea. I found it in a record store promotional thing. So I wonder if this was like something that was in a record store. The weight of this platter is incredible. Look at the thickness of that. I mean, this thing is not a toy. I wonder if this is like a record tryout deal that they had in record stores where you could, you know, kind of sample your music before you bought it. Anyway, diamond stylus. This thing is not a joke. The more I look at it, the more it's not some crappy kitty record player deal. This is not no Fisher Price thing. Alright, so I got batteries in it. How do I turn it on? There we go. It is rototubulating. Yeah, the belts are just totally fingering the needle. I'm not getting anything. Oops. Boy, almost. So this looks like it's in really good shape. The stylus, the flip stylus, is in good shape on both sides. The little rubber support for the needle is all there, and it's still pretty soft. It says AG3310 diamond and then AH below it, and it's put in there very well. This is very nicely built, and you can see here, look at this. It has a counterweight spring, and look at the adjustability of this. How you can snap this onto different levels of tension for stylus weight. But unfortunately, I think it's dead because I touched this and I get noise out of the speaker. Not a lot. It's not like super hot, but it is there. This thing is... the quality of this thing is phenomenal. Oh, that's good. And check this out. It is auto stop. This thing is like audiophile grade. It's like an audiophile grade toy. I mean, the quality of it is incredible. All right, before you start crying over this, this record is trashed. It's all warped and cracked. So unfortunately, this is probably a pretty valuable record, but let's see if we can roll out with a little Dolly Parton here. Check that out. HBO presents Dolly Parton's greatest hits. Baked like a toddler in a hot car. Actually, no, baked in a car, I think. You know what? I can do better than this. Stand by. Copyright strike, here we come. I'm holding the speaker up to the microphones on the camera. Okay, so has this got an amp problem or a low amp gain or a bad needle cartridge? I'm sorry. How do I know what the sensitivity of the amp is supposed to be? I got a signal generator. I could feed straight into it and see what the output is. How do I know what kind of stylus that is? Cartridge, I'm sorry. Cartridge, not stylus. I'm not a record player guy, sorry. Wow, the inside of this thing does not disappoint either. Look at this. Look at the quality of this thing. Oh, by the way, I googled it. That's a ceramic cartridge. Do ceramic cartridges go bad? Look at the quality. I mean, I'm all about quality and craftsmanship, and this thing does not disappoint. Cue up a shot of that amp right there. Push-pull output, germanium. Look at the heat sink. Interstage transformer. It's got the good electrolytics in it. Those blue, I think those might be Mallory or Sprague. That one there standing up looks like a tantalum teardrop. Those are good to short. Wow. Impressive. Hey Crosley, get a clue. Look at the shielding on the DC motor. Okay, signal generator is right here. I'm going in across the cartridge input into the thing, and I'm at 1.7 volts right now. Let's go down to about 1 kilohertz. Wow. So my volume all here is... Oh no, there we go. Wow, that amp is pretty sensitive. That's 0.019 volts. It almost seems sensitive enough to have a magnetic cartridge on it. Back here where you can see it. So at 1 volt, at 1 volt, this thing is cranked up, man. That's hurting my ears. It's 1 volt going into the amp input. It's 12, 13 kilohertz. It's about the peak of my hearing. Either that, maybe the amp rolls off or the speaker rolls off. Actually, I think it's not my hearing because I'm watching the meters in the camera. So the amp seems like it starts to roll off about 10 kilohertz. I think this is worth ordering a cartridge for. I really, really do. I'm sitting here looking at this thing with a magnifying glass, trying to figure out how you get the cartridge off. And check this out. Removable frickin' head. And these are all dirty. I might try to clean these up a little bit. This almost looks like a stereo cartridge, and they have it monoed out. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's 4 pins and 2 and 2 are wired together. Incredible. Let me try and clean this a little bit. I doubt this would cause it, but it's worth a try. It looks like the way this is put together is the cartridge is put in here, and then these are little pins go through the cartridge, and then they melt the end over to sandwich it in. You ain't gonna find that, I don't think, unless this is some generic deal, but I doubt it. It's not like it's a Technics 1200. Okay, I got to get some belts and try and find out what to do with this. I don't know if this is a standardized thing and I can just get this, or if I'm going to have to modificate something here to make it work. Look at this. Look at that. Good to 2025. The Chinese writing on it. You know, this is why you never ever ever leave batteries in anything. You never leave batteries in anything. They're garbage. They leak. Take them out. Put them in a Ziploc bag. Keep them next to your radio for an emergency or flashlight. Don't ever leave batteries in your device. This one is a complete unit, Philips replacement unit, and Fansteel did make a replacement. I think it's the P148D. It's not on the Voice of Music website. However, there are a few new old stock ones on eBay for $89. I'm not willing to do that. So what I've decided to do, this right here, this is a Crosley crap table. What I've decided to do is order the upgraded, the red one is, I believe it's called a Chiodinchi ceramic cartridge. There's an upgraded cartridge that V Westlife talked about, so what I had to do is go back and check his videos, and I ordered the one that he recommends, the upgraded version of this with the flip stylus. I think it was like $18 shipped. So my hopes are that I can disassemble this one, which means probably grinding the tabs off these pegs, taking it apart, cutting it off here, and then hopefully I can solder wires onto wherever they're coming through, and then I'm going to glue the modern cartridge up front here. Hopefully I can do that and get wires. I don't know. It's all hypothetical. But what I wanted to do today, I thought of this. I want to open the Crosley. I should have done this before I ordered the stupid cartridge, but I want to open the Crosley and attach 2 wires to the output of this inside, and then hook those 2 wires to the amp, that the Mercury amp, and see how it sounds and plays, the volume level. The amp in the Mercury seems to be dead, so maybe there is a bad germanium transistor in that. So what I did is I powered up the Crosley. What I originally wanted to do was just tie from the Crosley cartridge over into the Mercury. I guess I'm not showing that here. So I'm tapped into the Mercury there, and I'm tapped into the Crosley over here. What I wanted to do is I wanted to listen to that needle on this amp, but this amp is not working today, so I reversed it, and yeah, hardly any output out of this cartridge into the Crosley. I let the Mercury warm up in the sun and the amp has come alive. That suggests a bad transistor to me. I've got it hooked to the Crosley right now, the cartridge. You can hear it's very low and tinny. So we got some work to do to this one, which probably a transistor and the cartridge. Okay, as you can see there, the belts are new. I have replaced the belts. They're nice and tight. Now we just have two more issues. The cartridge and needle and the germanium transistor that's flaky. This is the needle and cartridge that V Westlife recommends as an upgrade to the Chiodinchi Crosley cartridge. $18 off Amazon. Took it one day to get here. Actually, I ordered it on Sunday and it was here Monday morning. I don't quite know how they do that, but okay. Anyway, what needs to happen is the one on the left needs to be installed into the one on the right, which is going to end up and require some modification, probably with the Dremel. But let me get started on it and we'll see how we go. It's going to be... It might just be easier just to use that head shell and then run little micro wires across the bottom and just solder them onto the tone arm connector rather than try and deal with all that. I don't know until I cut that thing apart.
Estamos ayudando y de manera gratuita a personas que quizá tuvieron algún incidente de automóvil, ya sea personal o en el trabajo. Quizá usted conocerá de algún familiar o amigo que le gustaría ayudar, que quizá esté pasando alguna situación similar. ¿Sí conoce de alguien?
Okay, well that came apart very nicely. I just scraped the little ends off the plastic pegs that were melted over and it came right apart. And on this cartridge it says left and right plus and minus, so the two on the bottom are negative, two on the top are positive. But I was quite interested in this, so let me run this up until, oh there we go, just goes out of focus, there we go. This is going to go together very easily, as you can see, with the way that these wires are soldered on here. I just have to figure out what's what. But what's sad about this is, you know, so this right here, this must be the crystal element. This little thing right here. Yeah, and so does it pick up the vibration through this triangle thing? And how does How does that couple and differentiate left and right through this little thing right here? I love my barking dog. Anyway, or does it transfer? I don't know. I'm not a record player person. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off probably right there. And yeah. Very interesting. I mean, the needle is in like perfect condition. Okay, that part right there, soldering this together, probably about the worst part of this whole operation to fix this. Also, there was this little metal, little metal weight in the old one. I'm gonna have to, we'll have to put the scale on this and see. I think this is supposed to track at about 3 grams, something like that. While the silicone dries, I really like this stuff. This stuff is really strong. I'll probably have to let it sit overnight. Okay, I got the weight set to about 3 grams. It was actually a little bit heavier than the original, so I had to tighten the spring up. It's dried overnight. And let's see, let's start out with a little blondie here. Geez, that sounds slow and very weak and very tinny. That could be the bad transistor though. Oh, that's horrible.
So of course we collided with communism. For these purposes bring us immediately into conflict with the communists on 2 levels. On the ideological plane, the communists seek always and everywhere to bring about more government, less individual responsibility, and an amoral world. Deceptively appealing, for instance, to every motivation in human character, from sordid selfishness to practical politics to misguided idealism, they have gradually beguiled a lot of very good Americans into joining the attack on us. And in general, our defamers do not even try to refute the facts on which we focus attention. They merely call us names for bringing these facts to light.
So, how do you adjust the speed on this? There's probably a way to adjust it with the motor here. And also, why is the speed going up and down unless this is warped? I mean, this is clean. This thing is low hour. This is pop metal though, so this could conceivably warp. Huh. And you can see there's a definite slow spot and a definite fast spot there. And at 1 RPM is excessive. I mean, you're going to hear that like crazy. Same thing on 45. It's slow and it's not round. Something is not round. just sick. I had a Magnavox Astrosonic that had this problem where the speed would drop every revolution, and of course if the speed is dropping once per revolution, then that has something to do with the platter, and I never could fix that thing. I just had to replace it. I just had to find a whole new turntable. So I don't know what this is about. I just cleaned the platter and it looks good, and the idler wheel is perfect because this thing retracts the idler wheel when it shuts off. This is a strobe disc, and this is basically the same thing as the phone. And the line you want to keep an eye on is the third one in right here. This is 33 1/3 at 60 cycle strobe.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around, 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 I get around, driving up and down the same old strip.
Okay, this one's a little different. This is, well, it says 78, but it's a little bit more detailed. It has, that's upside down. So this is 33 1/3, minus 2%, minus 4%, plus 2%, plus 4%.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older and we wouldn't have to wait so long? And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? No, it's gonna make it that much better when we can say goodnight and stay together. Wouldn't it be nice if we could wake up in the morning with days?
Boy, that's therapeutic. I could just kind of sit here and watch that all day long. So it's running about -4, and you can see -4%, and you can see that it's not stable as the phone suggested.
If everybody had a nose across the USA, then everybody'd be served like California. You'd see them wearing their baggies, Warachi sandals too, a bushy, bushy blonde hair, serving USA.
All right, George Benson Breezin', and this is a 45, and what you want to look at on this one is the red I don't think I can zoom in much more, but the red of course you got to have the needle on it to load it down. It's not really a high torque operation. That should be this one on the outside here. I wonder if the copyright thing gets music that's this far off speed. Slow, 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 slow. You can see where the flat spot is there. And this is the program. It's called RPM Calculator. It's free. There's no spyware advertising. Donate to the guy that made it. It's worth it. Okay, I just checked the batteries and they're good, so I'm gonna pull this thing apart and we'll play with the germanium transistors, because it's, even if this is a 1/2 volt cartridge, if this one's a 1/2 volt and the other one was a volt, I would still expect a little bit more than this. And we know it has a cold problem, so we got a bad, probably a bad transistor, maybe some open caps. So that one right there. It sounds hotter now than it's been the whole time. That's a bad germanium transistor for you right there. Alright, so we've got a couple problems here. The big one for me, of course, is the warbling speed, the fact that it's dipping in speed once per revolution. That's huge for me, and of course I really couldn't hear that. I guess I could have looked at the phone, but that's a pretty uncommon problem. But that almost has to be somewhere here. This is pot metal. Pot metal warps over time, and even though it looks completely, totally awesome, it doesn't sound that way. So just because something is high quality, or was super high quality at the time, doesn't mean it's not problematic. I can think of Zenith TVs. Everybody says, oh, they're the best built, hand-wired, blah, 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 blah. But if you really get into them, they're some of the most problematic and hard to fix in general. Just because something is built, a General Electric product that was refined down to the cent, might actually survive better than this over time, just because the GE might have used a stamped steel platter and not a pot metal platter. You know, so you can't just always make a blanket statement that it's built better, so the longevity is better. 'Cause, yeah, this is pretty depressing. You know, I really would have thought this thing would have been more impressive. It does have those AOC or whatever transistors, AO1 or whatever, the ones that go bad. They form whiskers. Boy. Ooh. Listen to the sensitivity now. Come on, baby, don't crap out on me. We're rolling live here. See, what do we do here off Blondie's greatest hits? One way or another, might as well. It's gonna be loud right now. Boy, if that's not symbolic of a bad germanium transistor, I don't know what is. So it needs all of them. And you hear that. Put some Russian ones in there.
Thank you. Please hold briefly while we connect you with a senior listing analyst.
A solution in there, anything. Thank you for holding. My name is Tyler. Here to assist you with your Google listing. Am I speaking with the business owner?
Renal Troublous McFarshon Sagalesha Charlotte.
Huh?
Renal Troublous McShashalife Flashel. Alright, well, I was in the middle of installing, or at least getting the pin out of the Russian germanium transistor in place when another one of those calls came in. It seems like I'm getting about 20 a day now. I had really slowed it down almost to nothing, but I don't know. I guess they find me entertaining or something. Alright. Sounds like I got the pins right now. I'll solder it in now that I've identified what goes where. Earlier in the video you saw me spray this one first and nothing really changed, and then I came over and sprayed this one and all of a sudden it popped and got louder. I think what it was, or at least I'm hoping what it was, is it just took this one some time to respond to the coolness. I didn't give it enough time. And automatically we thought it was this one, but I think the problem was this one.
About the way things used to be, and I can't stop thinking about the love that you made me, and I can't. Don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed.
Nothing like a little Trevor Horn, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, for a European record player. Alright, so let's pop on a 78. We'll flip the squealy sprinkler here over to 78. We'll do Sing Me Love's Lullaby on Columbia. And we'll flip this thing up to 78. Oh boy, look at it, it's right on the 78. Crash. There we go. Check out how it has loudness control here. If I crank it up, it rolls the bass off. You know, the reality of it is, there is no one type of music that won't piss somebody off. Somebody's going to get pissed at the John Birch Society. One of the AOC lovers is going to get all pissed off at that. Someone's going to get pissed off at the 78. There's just, it's like any art form. There's no one type that will please everybody. So, just try and do a little variety and do a little ice cream truck here to close it out. I'll probably have a ton of copyright strikes on this thing anyway. Not strikes, gotta love it. Pure quality. Just bitchin'.
Drive real far and drive all night, and then you see a light and it comes right down and lands on the ground, and out comes the man.
Just an update. If I bring the voltage up about a volt, I'm running on this lithium polymer cell at about 10 volts. If I bring the power supply up a little bit, then it runs at the right speed.